one. We got BRF in the building. Can't ignore BRF. What is good, folks? It's your boy Sports PSP. Welcome to another episode of the Sports PSP podcast. Got my crew with me, BRF Sports. How you doing, brother?
Man, I am doing good. Just got a long vacation coming up off of work, so I'm gonna be off for a few. I'm gonna be off for like a couple weeks, so it's time to rest the body up.
Hey man, rightfully so. You work your ass off every single day. You might as well enjoy it. Enjoy the last few weeks of the summer. Please stay hydrated because it is
Oh,
hot.
bro, tell me about it. Tell me about it. I don't know what the Georgia weather want to do at this moment, so you got to make sure to keep an IV on me if I need to. God.
Yeah, but you'll be all right. And of course, we can't do the show without undisputed world champ. How you doing, brother?
I'm good, man. It feels wonderful to be alive on God's Good Friday. And man, I'm quite frankly, it's always a privilege, an honor, and a pleasure to share the stage with you two guys all the time.
And it's always a pleasure, man, having you on the show. Love your content, love your work, love your work to BRF Sports. Also, give quick shout outs to Brandon from the Block, Casual, Mario Knows Best, Hot Take Kenny, Broad Sports, Harrison, Luis Knows Tunes. The list goes on and on. And also, y'all enjoy a great weekend because SummerSlam tomorrow. One of our guys, Flash, go check him out. He's at SummerSlam. He actually showed us a picture of him and the great Trish Stratus.
Yes.
So nothing better, man. Hey, enjoying the time of his life.
He also got a picture of Mickey James, and I'm like extremely jealous. Extremely jealous.
Hey, man, he has connections. I don't know how he has connections.
all I'm hoping for, through the grace of God, Bad Blood hit State Farm Arena in October. I'm gonna try and go like bad.
You better. But fellas, let's talk about the NBA. Let's talk about some basketball. Jason Tatum, he got benched for one of the games for Team USA. Steve Kerr, the head coach, he admitted he felt like an idiot. Um, what are y'all thoughts about it? Big deal, no big deal. We talked about it on your pod, champ. Please go check out Undisputed World Champs podcast. Great podcast as always. Look, you made a good point. You or Flash made a great point. There's an embarrassment of riches. LeBron, Steph, Devin Booker, the list goes on and on. KD played fantastic in the game on Sunday, in which he was shooting the ball so efficiently. And to your point, champ, and you admitted it, LeBron ain't gonna come back to the Olympics in 2028. So you might as
Mhm.
well enjoy the last time of LeBron, Steph, and the crew. But I didn't like the fact that Jason Tatum did get benched, didn't even play a single minute. Look, I understand he takes a lot of criticism, but I said it on your show, champ. Jason Tatum just should look at it as motivation or fuel. And plus, he's also won. He's the reigning NBA champion. He's on the cover of 2K. You know, he now has the richest contract in the NBA right now in NBA history. Before it was his teammate and the reigning Finals MVP, Jaylen Brown.
Mhm.
I think Jason Tatum is clearly a top 10 player in the NBA. So, what are your thoughts?
Um, like I said, I really think this is a pre-farewell tour for the big three, for Durant, Steph, LeBron. My thing is, hey, I really think that this is a fair, and there's going to be times for Tatum in order to shine. I think it's a big story because it's the Olympics and it's the dog days of summer. We really don't have anything to talk about right about now. I know preseason football just appeared on our television just yesterday, but we're really not going to start talking until a couple of weeks from now. But we need a story, and this was one of them. There's so many players on that team that they're trying to get into the rotation. And at the end of the day, the goal It's to not only get all those players into the groove, but to win that gold medal. So everybody's not going to get an equal amount of minutes every single game. Like I said earlier in the week, and I hate to keep regurgitating information, but really, I really think that this is the last ride for the big three. Like I said, Steph, KD, and LeBron. And I really think this whole Olympics revolving around their pre-farewell tour. This is the last Olympics we're going to see. Tatum, we're going to see him at least one, maybe even two Olympics in the future. So, I mean, he's going to have his time in order to be that star. I think that Steve Kerr was just trying to work players in. They didn't get a long training camp and all of that like they did previously, with the whole 2 year, working together for 2 years like they did on the Redeem team and a couple of years prior. They didn't get all of that. So the thing is, hey, Kerr is trying to work the best way he can in order to get him in the game and him among others in the game and make sure that he wins that gold medal. But, hey, at the end of the day, even though he didn't play a few minutes, he's still laughing all the way to the bank. He still got the NBA 2K cover. He still has the richest contract in NBA history. And not to mention, look, you are in the midst of, you are on one of the greatest teams, greatest franchises of all time. And you have the potential to be on a dynasty when you go back. Hey, whether you have a lot of minutes or don't, you're still going to win a gold medal, hopefully. And you're still going to be able to go to the NBA Finals next year and hopefully win you a Finals MVP to kind of shut the detractors up who had something to say about this Finals. So, I mean, it's a non-story. Kerr's working the best way he can. And you know what? Like I said, this is the pre-farewell. This is a prequel to the farewell tour of the Big Three. It's really not a story. And Kerr's doing the best he can. But the end game is to win a gold medal. And even if he doesn't play a minute in there, if he wins a gold medal, it's still a gold medal.
BRF, what says you?
I mean, I don't think it's like, I don't think it's a big deal. Like I didn't like it. I mean, from the stand, I understand. I mean, it's the U.S. Olympic team. I mean, on paper, honestly, it should be favored to win the gold. I mean, you got talent stacked on top of talent, stacked on top of talent. When you think about the NBA, best league in the world. When you think about it, I didn't like it just because I definitely understand LeBron, Steph, KD. I mean, this is it. This is probably the beginning of the end for them as far as showcasing their talents, to the for the world to see. And of course you want to showcase them because they are your brightest stars. But I guess in the same time, you still got the future of the league. You got the future of the NBA. You kind of have on your roster with guys like Ant and Tatum and Tyrese Halliburton and guys like that. But at the same time, though, it's not a huge story because, like I said it in the podcast on Tuesday that the Olympics are way more matchup driven as far as the Olympics don't play the same style as the NBA. Even though the NBA is transitioning to more of a transition game, there's still half-court elements involved with the NBA that really dominates a lot of the minutes and a lot of the schemes and whatnot. I feel like the Olympics is way more transition-driven, is way more matchup-driven, is way more driven as far as getting your best athletes out there. And I didn't say it in the podcast, but I was kind of thinking it. It wouldn't shock me at all if Jason Tatum got decent minutes against a team like South Sudan, who got a bunch of tall boys who can get out there and run and defend and, a lot of athleticism. And sure enough, he played decent minutes in the game. So I wasn't too worried about it because I know ultimately as the tournament goes on, he's going to get his minutes because he's a wing, long wingspan, can run, athletic, can shoot, can defend. It's not that big a deal because he's going to see time. The matchups are ultimately with the way basketball is played nowadays, they're going to present itself. So he's going to get his minutes. That's why it really wasn't. You didn't like seeing it, but at the same time, it wasn't that big a deal because ultimately with his style of play and the way the Olympics are nowadays, he's going to get his minutes because it's like I said, the way the transition game dominates. Mm-hmm. Exactly. He's a young. He's young. He's got at least one. I say he's got at least two more Olympics in him. You got 28 and 32. Lord willing, he's able to progress and his career lasts that long. He's got a couple of Olympics in him down the road. So I mean, it's really not that big. It's really not that big a deal. Even though I didn't like it, but it's not that big a deal ultimately because I know he's gonna get his time because the matchups are gonna present itself, and all these players are gonna get minutes. I just feel it's like Steve Kerr just has probably is just spoiled with all of this talent at his disposal with his U.S. squad. So I think he will find a way to get everybody, their fair share of minutes. Not everybody's going to play a lot of minutes, but he's going to find his way to make sure these lineups on the court suit best for whatever matchup he's got going, and he's going to handle that. I think with Tatum, when he gets in and he sees his time, he's gonna make the most of his time, which is what all these players ultimately at the end of the day should aim for, regardless of whether you get 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes. Get up there and make them count. And I feel like they're all gonna do that, whatever they're handed to them. And I think ultimately it's gonna work out for them, and they're gonna get exposure. So yeah, I don't think ultimately at the end of the day, when you look at the bigger picture, it ain't that big a deal.
All right. Let's continue on with some basketball. Big news, and I'm gonna let Champ go first because he is the Lakers ambassador here. What'd you think about the new statue of the late great Kobe Bryant and Gianna Bryant? Here's a picture of it right here. What do you think, Champ?
Oh man, heartwarming. Not gonna lie, man. It's sometimes it's still unbelievable to think that one of the greatest parts of the Laker organization is gone, and one of the greatest parts of my childhood is gone. You know what I'm saying? So, when Kobe was winning championships, I was just going to high school. When he won his last championship with Shaq, I was a freshman in high school. So I mean, as he was ascending and getting grown, so to speak, how we say down south, I was in the Army when he won his last championship with Paul Gasol. So I feel it's so a little part of you feels like you grew up with this person. So I think it was great, and I think it was wonderful, man, for them to give them another statue, especially paying homage to Gigi as well and making sure she's recognized as well, because I truly believe that the way Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese, and some of these rookies, and let's not steal anything from Rickea Jackson and Cameron Brink, all of those young ladies. I truly believe that had Gigi lived, she would have had the star power just like they did. I truly believe that. I truly believe that she was the future of women's basketball. And for a lot of the young women who are in the WNBA and in college to acknowledge that is amazing. Big ups to the Laker organization. I mean, Kobe did a lot for that organization. I mean, without Kobe, there is no Rob Pelinka on that organization because remember, he used to be Kobe's agent. So, and then, hey, big ups to the Laker organization for doing that. And rest in peace, not only to Kobe and Gigi, but also the other victims of that flight a few years back. It feels like just yesterday it happened, and sometimes you're still, as a fan, you're kind of still in denial about that. So rest in peace to the family, hearts and prayers as always, man, and cherish every single day, man. And Kobe, man, fly high, Godspeed.
Beautifully said. BRF.
The fact it's been 4 years already, it's still mind-boggling to me. The fact it's already been 4 years, and I remember that day I was at home, just scrolling through the channels. I think I just so happened to get on my phone and saw that TMZ had broke the news, and I'm like, and TMZ is one of those outlets, like they can't always be trusted, but then sometimes it's like when they get the scoop, it's like, wait up, what? And I saw it, and I'm just like, ain't no way. And then sure enough, like I'm scrolling, and the realization hit when it was on like ABC, CBS, when it hit the major news outlets, and it was like the reality kind of sunk in, and you're just like what? Like Kobe? And it's like it hit every if you're a sports fan and your childhood was basically like mid 90s, around the time Kobe got drafted up until like, early 2000s was him and Shaq, and then as you're getting older, those Lakers teams with Powell and Lamar Odom, and just seeing him just continue to be the force that he was on the court, like regardless of what roster you gave him, like he was just, what can you say about the brother? He was an icon. He's an icon to the sport. He's a legend. He's an icon to the sport. And shout out to the Lakers for doing this for him and Gigi, because hearing the girls like talk about Gigi and how good of a player she already was, like you can only imagine if she had got it, because she was going to UConn. I think it came out she was going to go to UConn. So imagine like Paige Beckers and Gianna Bryant. Imagine them on the same court together. Like imagine that. Like imagine what they could have done for the game as far as college basketball with the other tremendous, women players that were, whether they were coming out this year or next year or the years after that. Like I said, she would have been a part of what's starting to turn into an evolution of women's basketball. Just from having these players that are about to, kind of be that 79, 82, 83, 84, when like that first real wave of like revolutionary talent came to the NBA and brought it to the heights and helped elevate it to the heights that it's at now. And these women are getting ready to do that hopefully for the WNBA, because I feel like the WNBA deserves to be on a higher platform, deserves their respect, because those are some amazing players that play in that league. Just the Lakers. I will say this though. If Kobe Bryant definitely deserves this for everything he meant for the Lakers organization, everything he meant for the NBA, for us as fans. Just being as influential as a talent as he was, whether he was playing or after he retired, that's actually my first time seeing the statue, and that's one of those you take it with you and you hold it, because like as a sports fan, all the memories that Kobe Bryant gave us is like you can't. He's one of the top 10 players in the history of the league, and it's something that you just can't argue, you can't deny, and it's still mind-boggling he's not here getting seeing the fact that he's getting his flowers, and deservedly so, and he's not here. And like condolences to the family, to Vanessa and her girls, and just shout out to the Lakers organization for just knowing who Kobe Bryant was as a man, as a player, as a father, showing that with Gigi. Like that's just, it's very hard. It's heartwarming. It's bittersweet, but it's appreciated as a fan, and just we going. What else is there to say? Like we gonna miss that man. We as fans, we're gonna miss that man. What he meant to sports, not just the NBA but sports. So shout out to the Lakers organization for doing that. That's character. I feel that's character. That shows respect. That shows how much they admire him. And it's just something you just have to like kind of a little piece of that goes in your heart and your soul as a sports fan, and you just gotta. The memories we have, like all the highlights, everything, we just gotta cherish them. We just gotta watch them and just keep remembering how great of a player he was. So that's pretty much all I got.
Reading an article here from ABC, it says here, the tribute represents Kobe and Gianna's exceptional basketball legacy and the uplifting relationship Kobe shared with all four of his daughters. Kobe Kobe Bryant's widow, Vanessa Bryant, shared a few words about what the statue entails. Her message was shared in the press release. Quote, "We merged two iconic courtside moments of Kobe and Gigi. Gianna has her gorgeous smile on her face, and Kobe is kissing the top of her head while wearing the Philadelphia Eagles beanie that Gigi gifted him for Christmas. He's also wearing a WNBA hoodie he wore outside to the game with Gigi. He wore courtside to the game with Gigi. Kobe was the first NBA player to wear that orange hoodie to a big game, and that was to show his support for Gigi's dreams and for women across all sports. That was a moment he shared with Gigi that will always be a powerful representation of the movement towards equality that was always so important to our family. We were faced with the harsh reality that no matter how great Gianna was or could be, no matter how great her daddy taught her to play, or even if she played exactly like Kobe, she would not have had the same benefits and opportunities that her dad and young men currently have because she's a girl. That's when the challenge to change the perception of women's sports started in our household. Gianna would be going into her first year of college this year. We would be watching her shine on the court. Now her spirit is shining a path she has created for young girls and for women in sports. In honor of Kobe and Gigi, I ask you this. Give young girls your time, give them your support, tell them they can do anything any man can do, and tell them that they can exceed that because they can, they have, and they will. The statue is the second of three honoring the basketball legend. It includes a plaque with the words Gianna Bryant, inspirational icon for girls in sports, and Kobe Bryant, proud supporter of women in sports. It also includes a memorable quote from Kobe Bryant in which he once said, "Gianna is a beast. She's better than I was at her age. She's got it. Girls are amazing. I would have 5 more girls if I could. I'm a girl dad." Um, guys, to your point, it's still, I mean, shocking to me that Kobe's still not here. And it hit me when he passed away because I couldn't believe it at first. Like, did but once it was confirmed, it was hard for me to stomach and process. But to your points, I mean, the Lakers, they did an unbelievable job with the statue. I mean, this is great. I give a lot of credit to Vanessa Bryant for everything, that she's been through. And God bless all the other families as well. Kobe, what more can you say about Kobe Bryant, not only the Los Angeles Laker, but also the human being? Remember, people forgotten, he won an Oscar. Correct me if I'm wrong, Chan.
First basketball player to win an Oscar. And he was the only one until The Last Dance had came out. I don't know, like I said, not to get political here, but it seems like when he passed away, that was the beginning of a lot of dark years. And we'll leave it at that. It seems like that was a prequel of what was to come for like the next 2 to 3 years, because it was a long 2 to 3 years after that. It was a long couple of months after that, because that was the beginning of something that none of us never seen before. So it was kind of like a dark day that began many dark days.
Mm-hmm. But what I miss about Kobe is his intelligence. Kobe is a very smart brother. He's very knowledgeable, very sophisticated, not just with basketball, but in life in general. And he is a very unique perspective. Obviously, one of the all-time greats. He's more than deserving of a statue. It's also great to see him with the statue with Gigi. It's just beautiful. There's nothing more that you can say. And even though he's no longer here, he'll never be forgotten.
No.
And Kobe was just a role model, not just to sports, but in life in general. And look at the amount of work he's done for the WNBA. You know, so many of the WNBA players have so much respect. They don't love Kobe. They revere him because what he was trying to do and push the WNBA to get them more coverage, to get them the attention that they richly deserve. And you admitted Gigi, he even said it, and I read it. He thought Gianna was going to be was better at her when at her age than Kobe.
Mhm.
So that tells you just how great and how great Gianna could have been. And I
Mhm.
think she was going to be the next great WNBA player, just like we talk about Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark, and now Asia Wilson, rightfully deserving of the MVP. That's how I feel like we could have talked about Gianna Bryant. And but I think it's just a day to commemorate just the greatness that Kobe Bryant gave us, and also showing girl dads. Because BRF, I know you're a father, and I mean fathers, they love fathers love their daughters, fathers love all their kids. It was just great, just seeing that. And that's another thing that I loved about it with Kobe and Gigi, their relationship, the girl dad, how Kobe was not only like a father, but also like mentor, instructor, teacher, teaching her everything about basketball. And with the players, not just with the WNBA, NBA, Devin Booker, Jason Tatum, Trey Young, so many others, Kobe Bryant would take time and teach them basketball, educate them about basketball. Players revere him. So that just tells you how, like I said, Kobe, even though gone, never forgotten. Never
No, indeed not.
forgotten. And the Lakers, big ups to them. Big ups to them. So before we move on to the next subject, I just want to take the time to give a moment of silence to the Bryants and the families. So I think it's best if we give a moment of silence real quick. Thank you. All right, fellas, let's get into some football. Let's get into that pigskin because we all know football season is coming. We got to talk about contracts because my man, Undisputed World Champ, we talked about it on his podcast. What were your thoughts about Tua Tagovailoa and Jared Goff's contracts? For the record, folks, I am all for players getting their money. Tua Tagovailoa signed a deal, 4-year, $212.4 million with $167 million guarantees. $53.1 million he's making. But then Jordan Love, quarterback, who I've said is going to be in the discussion for the MVP, got his bag. He got his bag, and let me read you the contract right here. 4-year, $220 million. That I'm reading an article here from Bobby Konak from NFL.com. 4-year, $220 million contract extension that puts Jordan Love in a tie for the highest paid player in NFL history. Love's deal also includes a record-setting $75 million signing bonus per Ian Rappaport. The team announced the extension on Saturday. Love's lucrative deal, negotiated by David Muguleta and Andrew Kessler of Athletes First, comes out to an average of $55 million per year, nodding him with the Jacksonville Jaguars' Trevor Lawrence, who put pen to paper in June, and Cincinnati's Joe Burrow at the very top of the skyrocketing quarterback market. Champ, I'm going to let you go first. Quarterbacks with their money, man. Has it gotten too far? Because I've said it, I'm not mad at these players getting their money. Hey, you get paid according to what the market tells you. And I did release a clip. Hey, look, if Baker Mayfield and I love Baker and if other quarterbacks can get their money, why not Jordan Love? Why not? Why not other quarterbacks? This is where the market is going. Champ, the floor is yours.
To be honest with you, man, I don't have a problem with the money. The money is always going to be there. You have to love these young men and how they're getting their money. But the thing is, you have to question the intelligence of ownerships at a certain point. Because the thing is, why would you pay Tua that amount of money and he's only been healthy 1 year? He's only won one, and he only has one playoff game. Why wouldn't you wait another year? I think that a lot of people panic in organizations because, okay, we have this quarterback right now. And the thing is, it's like, okay, what are we going to do if he leaves a free agency? Okay, you have a good quarterback class coming out next year. You can always trade up in the draft. You have draft capital. But the thing is, I think that someone panicked in that organization. Tua has had a history of not only a hip injury, but a shoulder injury and a history of concussions at a certain point. Last year was his first full season. Now, for Jordan Love, I don't pretty much blame them for signing him the way they did. He has been developing up under Aaron Rodgers, and he was the first player, the first quarterback in Green Bay Packer history to make the playoffs his very first year and win a playoff game. Bart Starr did not do that. Brett Favre did not do that. Don Majkowski didn't do that. And Aaron Rodgers was 6-10 his very, very first year. So big ups to Jordan Love. And he showed what he could do the second half of the year. So, we're going to see a lot of great things. And they got us some help in the offseason. You could call it an upgrade when they replaced Aaron Jones with Josh Jacobs. So they did it the right way. They developed a young developed quarterback. Hey, we saw what he could do in the blood and guts division with the NFC North. Let's give him his money so we can keep him for years to come. That was the plan anyway. And my Atlanta Falcons copied that plan. Hopefully that it will work with Kirk Cousins and Michael Penix Jr. So my thing is, I have no problem with the contract. But the thing is, don't be so anxious to crown somebody when they haven't done much yet. Tua's only been healthy one season. Tua's only been healthy one season. One. Just one. That's it. And when you think about guys like him and Trevor Lawrence, two of the top 3 quarterbacks don't have anything but one playoff win and one playoff appearance. And they've been in the league 4 years already. Remember, last year was supposed to be Trevor Lawrence's breakout year. Right. I'm pretty sure people are going to say, well, what are you going to do after that? It's simple. See how they perform and see where you land in that draft. Every year there's quarterbacks coming out. Don't just get so sold on trying to get one because the St. Louis Rams showed you what can happen in just a few short years. Jared Goff may have taken them to the Super Bowl, but they saw real quickly, okay, he's limited. Let's go get Matthew Stafford, Georgia Bulldog, by the way. So you can get traded. You can be open in order to be traded.
You saw that with Carson Wentz.
Yes, you saw that with Carson Wentz as well. You can be traded. So the thing is, don't get so high up on them yet. Let them play out these rookie contracts. And if they're performing up to par during that time, then okay, give them that money. Because it seems like the quarterback of yesteryear, that being Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, Ben Roethlisberger, and even, the next generation of quarterbacks and Cam Newton and those guys, it seems like they had accolades to back up what they were getting paid. By the time Peyton Manning had signed his next contract, he had already been to the playoff twice and won an MVP in 2003. I'll never forget when he signed that first multi-million-dollar contract after his rookie contract. You know what he said? What are you going to do with all that money? He said, I'm going to earn it. Never forget that press conference. By the time Ben Roethlisberger signed his next contract, he had already won a Super Bowl. By the time Phillip Rivers had signed his next contract, he had already been to an AFC championship. So the thing is, let these quarterbacks prove themselves just a little bit. Quarterback is the only position in the league that you get paid off of potential and potential alone. We've seen it happen one too many times. We saw Scott Mitchell get paid off a half of the season when he was at the Miami Dolphins when Dan Marino got hurt. We saw Rob Johnson got paid off of one game when he was in Jacksonville. End up going
saw that with Jay Cutler.
Yes, we saw that with Jay Cutler. Didn't do too good. Was very, very mediocre throughout his career. That's the only position that gets paid off. We think he can be something. No other position gets paid like that. But I'm all for the quarterbacks getting their money, but they need to be on a different cap, if you really want me to be honest. They need to have quarterback salary and then everybody else as far as cap is concerned. Because when it gets to the point where you having one good season and you're getting paid $300 million on a contract, and think about how much we would be criticizing any other quarterback outside of Tua if he was injury prone and had all of these weapons and an offensive coach like a Mike McDaniel that came from the San Francisco 49ers, by the way, with the zone blocking system. So you got receivers, you got tight ends, you have running backs galore, and you have that zone blocking system. Would any other position get paid like that outside of the quarterback position if they had been injured all year long for so many years, had one good year, and then they said, I don't think any other position gets paid like the quarterback. So in that aspect, I think it's getting out of hand. They need to give these guys let them play out their whole rookie contract. They do it with every other position. Saquon Barkley quiet as kept. Saquon Barkley led the New York Giants to a playoff berth. Guess what? And a playoff win. Guess what? Instead of paying him, who was the focal point of that team, they played Daniel Jones.
$40 million per year.
Yes. Let these quarterbacks prove what they can do. Hey, like good old JR said, hey, guys might have a lot of potential, but potential doesn't buy you lunch on Sunday. Hey, let them earn it, just like every other position does. No other position gets paid off of potential but quarterbacks. And, hey, that has to change in that aspect.
BRF.
It's because the quarterback position is the one position in the National Football League franchises are scared to admit when they're wrong. That's why they pay these quarterbacks. That's why they pay them the way they do. They're scared to admit when they're wrong, and they're scared to move away when they feel like they have something there, but it's kind of iffy. So, yeah, I'm not gonna knock Tua for getting this money, Jared Goff over the last 2-3 years has quietly been a top 10 quarterback in the league. So Jared Goff should have got his money. I'm not gonna knock Jared Goff for getting his money. If you look at the numbers and what he's putting up, and then you look at what he did with Detroit, getting them to the NFC title game this year, you had to do it with Jared Goff at this point. I mean, he had kind of outplayed that. He kind of outplayed his last contract. You had to give it to him. Tua's more iffy because he had the one good year, and he's had the concussion situation, the concussion issues, and like Champ was saying, he's blessed to have he's got an embarrassment of riches. I mean, you got Jalen Waddle, you got Tyreek Hill, you got Raheem Mostert, Devon Achane behind him. I mean, he's got stallions. He's got stallions all over the place. So I mean, you don't want to say any quarterback can come in there and succeed with all those weapons, but I mean, come on, man. I mean, the Miami Dolphins, they loaded with some offensive firepower. So I mean, I guess it just comes back to one of those. It just comes back to my feeling of like, it's one of those where it's like I do think the quarterback position is the one position that franchises are scared to admit when they're wrong, but it's that make or break position to where if you have to move and go another route, it could be 2, 3, 4, 5 years before you're stable again. So it's like when you feel like you got a little stability, you kind of want to lock it in. And I guess I understand it, but at the same time, is me personally, I would have let Tua play this year out, but I guess I can understand from the Dolphins' perspective. So I guess you kind of had to, but then again, you're stuck if he doesn't pay out. So they're kind of you kind of have to trust your instincts here and pray to God that you got it right, because if he regresses and you're stuck with that money and having to pay him all that, you can't improve your franchise because you're giving the quarterback the majority of your money. So you kind of feel like they could have a real quick chance to regress again. So I do think the QB quarterbacks are kind of getting out of hand. But when you look at the market, if you have somebody that's played a good year or two, sometimes you just kind of have to look at the market and you kind of have to go with it. So as much as I might not agree with Tua getting the money, I mean, I feel like unless you're just absolutely sure you're going to get that thing in the draft, if Tua didn't pay out, you're kind of stuck. They probably did what they had to do at that point. But I guess we'll see how the future holds, is all I say. But he's got to show that he deserves that money now. So we'll kind of see where Miami goes. But I feel like Jared Goff, I think, easily deserves his money. I'm not going to knock him. Tua is just a little more on the iffy side for me.
Look, go ahead, champ.
I don't understand, piggybacking off of you, and I'll be quick. I don't understand why teams are so scared to lose quarterbacks now, especially when they're on their rookie contract. You only got $25 million invested in them over the course of 5 years. So if he doesn't work out, whereas I think back when Ron Leaf and Peyton Manning and guys like that were coming in the league, they was taking a big chunk of the salary cap, so you had to get it right. These days, you can afford to make a mistake at the quarterback position. You can afford to. Because the thing is, you have 5 years for them to prove themselves. And if they don't, you don't have a lot of money invested in them anyway. They're at the bottom of the cap when they first walk in. They're at the bottom of the cap, regardless of how much of a huge signing bonus they have. You're literally paying them a lot more or less than a lot of guys were making, as far as Matthew Stafford when he first came in the league, and Sam Bradford. Now, if you got that one wrong, that sets your franchise back a lot of years. But when you get it wrong now, you got a chance to make up for that. And guess what? Hey, there's been a lot of mediocre quarterbacks that have made NFC championship games, that have led teams to those games, that have led teams to Super Bowls. If you really look at it, there's been a heck of a lot more mediocre quarterbacks in Super Bowl than there have been top 10 quarterbacks. And you can go down the list. When you think about Mark Rippon, when you think about Trent Dilfer, when you think about Nick Foles, when you think about Jeff Hostetler, you can be replaced as a quarterback. You can be replaced, especially now, if they get it wrong, with a lot less money tied up into them. So on that note, I don't understand why they're afraid when they don't have that much money tied up with them. Because guess what? That's your out. Okay, this guy failed. He's on his rookie contract anyway. And I hate to bring this up. Look at what Cleveland did. Although that was a debacle, look what Cleveland did with Baker Mayfield. Okay, this guy's not going to get us where we need to be. Okay, we can get rid of him. Hey, okay. Now, admittedly, that was a mistake with getting who they got. But that's the chance that you have with this low salary cap. You can move on.
Well, we've seen it before. To your point, Chap, you mentioned the Rams. They gave up 2 first-round picks, a 3rd-round pick, and Jared Goff for Matthew Stafford because they felt like in order for us to win a Super Bowl, we got to change our quarterback play. And they proved that the first year. I think the reason why I got no problem with Jordan Love getting his contract because he's in the best situation. Green Bay, one thing, champ, they know how to do is build quarterbacks. We've seen Bart Starr, Brett Favre, Aaron Rodgers, Jordan Love. He's in an ideal situation. And also Matt LaFleur, too. He's proven to be a good coach, especially with what he can do as a offensive play caller. So we got to take that into consideration and the weapons he has around him. Christian Watson, if he can stay healthy, I like Hicks. I like Romeo Dobbs. They added Josh Jacobs there, although it's sad to see Aaron Jones gone, but still, Green Bay's offense is going to be formidable, and I think Jordan Love is going to make a case for the MVP. Meanwhile, in the case with Tua would be a damn fool to turn down that money. Not to mention you're in South Beach. And we've seen you in inclement weather. We saw you in that playoff game against Kansas City, and we've seen you go up against Buffalo, and other teams in cold weather. So we got to question that. We got to question how you are against real good teams, playoff caliber teams. Matter of fact, the only playoff teams that they beaten this year was the Dallas Cowboys last season. And correct me if I'm wrong, was there any other team that they beat? I don't recall because I saw them lose to Philadelphia Sunday night, lost to Buffalo twice. Jets don't count because, again, they didn't have Aaron Rodgers and they struggled throughout that season. When I look at Miami, they had – what do you do? Do you tank the rest of the season? Do you try to get one of these quarterbacks in the draft? Because this is a really good quarterback draft class. Shedeur Sanders, your boy from UGA, Carson Beck, Quinn Ewers from Texas. There's Drew Allard from Penn State. There's the Miami kid, Cam Ward. I have him as one of my favorites for the Heisman Trophy, my preseason favorite for the Heisman Trophy. I think he's going to have an exciting season. But if you got to have a plan, because if you're not going to pay Tua, where else are you going to find someone that is comparable or better than him? And if Tua has another great season or even better than what he had last season, then, champ, you're going to have to pay him even more money. And you don't want to do that. So imagine if you pay Tua way more money than the contract that the Dolphins actually gave him. So you're stuck with that. And look, it seems like to me the Dolphins, they wanted to do it to justify it because remember, it was reported that Brian Flores, he wanted Justin Herbert. The Dolphins wanted to go with Tua. And plus, it's interesting that you brought up Daniel Jones, champ. The Giants co-owner, John Mara, does not regret giving Daniel Jones that contract extension. Let me read you a quote from John Mara. Quote, "I'm still happy we gave him that contract because I thought he played really well for us in 2022, the year when the New York Giants made the playoffs and won a playoff game on the road against the Minnesota Vikings." This is what the Giants co-owner John Morris said via the team's official website. Last year, he got hurt, and let's be honest, when he was playing, we weren't blocking anybody. So let's give him a chance with a better offensive line, with some weapons around him to see what he can do. And to me, owners, they just don't want to admit it because, again, they don't want to admit that they're wrong. The Daniel Jones, remember, when they drafted Daniel Jones, I thought it was a mistake. And the only reason why you drafted him, nepotism. Because where did he go to school? Duke. And who was the head coach at the time in Duke? Cutcliffe, who worked with the Mannings. So to me, you drafted Daniel Jones because of his relationship and with Cutcliffe and Cutcliffe's relationship with the Mannings, and you felt like this was the guy that would be the successor to one Eli Manning. And when I look at Daniel Jones, turnovers, he's had durability problems. He's coming off a torn ACL. I don't think he's the quarterback for the New York Giants moving forward. But you're not going to see. But the problem is, Champ, these owners, they're not going to admit it. And I do think quarterbacks are getting overpaid. It's all because of talent or perception of what they could potentially be. Trevor Lawrence, in my opinion, he's overrated because coming out of college, who is he often compared to? Andrew Luck. Do you see any signs of Andrew Luck and Trevor Lawrence at all? Not saying that he doesn't have potential. Of course, he has potential, but not to the caliber of Andrew Luck. Andrew Luck, during his time in Stanford, didn't have what Trevor Lawrence had. He didn't, even though he had Jim Harbaugh and David Shaw as head coaches, but Dabo Swinney, we can't disregard what Dabo's accomplished as a head coach. And plus, you had weapons during your time: Justin Ross, Etienne, T. Higgins. And you had a squad around you during your time at the University of Clemson. So let's not act as if you worked with nobodies. And when you look at these quarterbacks getting paid, unfortunately, that's just how it is, man. Because the NFL, the monies, the market, it's gonna get. I mean, who knows what's gonna happen? Some quarterbacks, they're gonna break the standard. They're going to break the bank. And when you look at, but the good thing is there's trades. Because we mentioned before, trades. We've seen it before. The bottom line is, do you have a plan? And if you have that plan, hey, go for it. I think the Dolphins, they just had to give Tua that contract because if we can't sign him, who are we going to get to replace him? Who? And are we going to tank for the rest of the season? Miami's too good of a team to tank. And you're not going to get any of the Shedeur Sanders or Carson Beck or any of these quarterbacks in the draft. They're probably going to be gone before Miami has a chance of touching them. So what plan do you have? Go ahead, BRF.
No, I was getting ready to say that's exactly what I said about Miami on Tuesday night. They're not bad. They're not good enough to be like on the back end. They're not good enough to be back end of the draft, like like AFC Championship, Super Bowl appearance. They're not that good, but they're not top 10 bad. They're like in that middle, like average tier of team. They're a good team, but they're like more on the bad side of the medium, the middle good teams as opposed to like the good side. So it's like, yeah, they're kind of like it's like limbo with that franchise. They're not bad enough to tank, but they're not good enough to win the Super Bowl. So they're just kind of like stuck in the middle, and like a lot of those quarterbacks could be gone by the time Miami picks, like which especially like if it's like late teens and like if it's like in the like if they make the playoffs and it's in like late teens in the 20s, those like if you're looking at all those quarterbacks as potential first round picks, that they all could be gone. So Miami was kind of stuck in the middle and had to make a choice. And I mean I feel like they kind of I feel like they kind of had to. They had to it to him because if you're iffy on him but if he goes out again and just balls out again, and you're looking at potentially 300, 310, 320 with his injury history on top of that, but he goes out and balls out, then what do? Then I honestly feel like if he balls out again, you have no choice but to pay him. And then you're giving him another 100, 110, 120 $120 million on top of what you've already given him. So I think oh Lord, I think they kind of had to. They were kind of stuck, but I think ultimately they kind of had to it too. So yeah,
Listen,
that's just
in the words of Don King, only in America. As Don King once said, only in America.
Hey, also, because
true words.
My bad, BRF.
Oh no, I was just saying, truer words were never spoken.
Hey, also look out when it comes to these college football quarterbacks. Look out for Jackson Dart from Ole Miss as well. Coming out of Lane Kiffin's offense.
Yes. We're going to continue on with some football, man. The NFL, the top 10 players on the NFL's top 100 list. I'm reading it right here. Number 10, Max Crosby. Number 9, Travis Kelce. Number 8,
what?
TJ Watt. Number 7, from my Oklahoma Sooners, Trent Williams. 6,
Mhm.
Chris Jones. 5, Myles Garrett.
Okay.
Oh, you got to be kidding me. Patrick Mahomes at 4.
Ain't no freaking way, bro.
Christian McCaffrey at 3. Lamar at 2. Lamar Jackson. Tyreek Hill at number 1.
Ain't no freaking way, bro.
Now, again, it is voted by the players.
No. Ain't no freaking no. Patrick Mahomes should be 1. No, it's time. No, I'm glad you said that. It's time to give me the damn floor, like right now. Give me the floor.
Go. BRF, you want to go solo?
Bruh, I need some solo time. Give it. Players, I get y'all are the peers. Y'all see what in the hell? What Tyreek Hill 1? No, bro, no. Patrick Mahomes is literally a 2-time league MVP, a 3-time Super Bowl. Oh my God, 3-time Super Bowl MVP, a 3-time World. What are we doing? What are we doing? What are we doing, y'all? Patrick Mahomes should be number 1 by default. Tyreek Hill a top 5 player at his, but overall, regardless of position, yes, he is not the best. He is not the best player in the league. No. 4. Oh my gosh. So let me get this straight. So none of those position players could win the league MVP over like a quarterback. I feel like a position player should have won the MVP last year, not the quarterback. But they didn't give it to him, and then oh my God, oh Lord, no. Number 1 should be Patrick Mahomes. I'm sorry, just no. Number 1 is Patrick Mahomes. He should have that on lock. If you want to put Tyreek at 2, that's fine. Like if you, I feel like it should have been Patrick. If Patrick 1, Lamar 2, then Tyreek, then Christian McCaffrey. Just no. Man, I'm like speechless. I can't even get my words out right. We can go bring everybody back. I can't even get my words out right. This is ridiculous. Oh my gosh. I'm done.
You know,
I'm done.
To put it into context, remember the year when Patrick Mahomes won the Super Bowl the first time, he was voted number 4 on the NFL's top 100 list.
Really?
Yeah, remember, Lamar Jackson was number 1 because that was the year in which he won the MVP unanimously. That was when he led the NFL in touchdown passes, had the historic season in 2019. So we've seen examples like this before. Who knows? Maybe Mahomes will use this as extra motivation because even though Kansas City, they've had a lot of distractions off the field, Mahomes still looking to three-peat. Let's not lose sight of that, BRF Sports. And plus, you and Flash mentioned we may see this offense at Brady in 07. But Patrick Mahomes at number 4, Tyreek at 1. I think the reason why they gave Tyreek Hill number 1 is because, remember, he had a chance to crack 2K. And I think it is voted by the players, and they're judging it by the year. So we got to put it into perspective. No, I do not think Tyreek Hill is a better football player than Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes has to be number 1. And then after that, if you want to argue Tyreek Hill 2, Christian McCaffrey 2, no problem, because they were in the discussion for the MVPs as well. But Chad, you got that big smile, that grin look on your face. It looks like, you know what?
Because he knows it's he knows it's blasphemous. Champ knows it's blasphemous. Ain't no freaking way Patrick Mahomes is not 1. This is stupid, bro.
Oh man, I don't know how you look. Big ups to the NFL players. I'm not in the NFL, as we all know. So, and I'm not finna sit around here and pretend like I'm just a big super athlete because guess what? I'm not. I stopped at the amateurs. So, but
Hold on, champ. I got let me get one more thing in here, and I'm gonna let you go. I got to make y'all laugh for the night. A blind, sick, dark Stevie Wonder could see this, bro. Like, oh my god, man. Okay.
You could have said Ray Charles, but okay.
But Stevie Wonder alive. Respect to the dead, I know, but Stevie Wonder alive. I had to use the live example. I know, but champ, my bad, bro. Go ahead. You had the flow, bro. I'm done, bro. I'm done.
This is the first time we've seen something outrageous. Remember when, hey, BRF, you've seen this before. Remember when Matt Ryan won the MVP and he was barely in the top 20? Remember that?
He was I think it was like 20.
He was 22.
He was in that 20. He was in that 22 to 24 range. I thought that was I remember that.
Yeah, so this is the first time we've seen something like that. I'm really being like this. I really think they didn't want a quarterback at number one because it seems like quarterbacks get a lot of favor when it comes to the media, and I think the players was more like, hey, we're going to vote for one of the more impactful players outside of the quarterback position. That's where I think he was shooting for.
Actually, champ, sorry to interrupt you. Matt Ryan was in the top 10.
Oh, he was in the top 10?
For 2017. That was the year in which the Falcons went to the Super Bowl.
Okay. Okay. No. I remember now. 2017, he was in the top 10. No, it was after the 20. It was 2018 where he had the season where it was almost as good as the MVP season, and then 2019 they had him at like 23 or something like that.
Yeah.
All right, let me go check that out right now. But continue, champ.
But yeah, I think the players wanted to give it to another guy outside the quarterback position. The way they look at it, probably. Quarterback always getting a favor. Don't nobody. I'm gonna just be real, man. To me, and I'm biased when I say this. Most important position to me is the offensive line. But ain't nobody getting off the bus asking who the offensive line, who the left tackle is, unless you're Trent Williams. But yeah, I don't think that that's accurate. And I'm trying to find my words because it's just like Patrick Mahomes. He is the best player in the league right about now. And the thing is, and I know I've said this before, your pod, PSP, he's the only quarterback in NFL history that things have been taken away from him, and he still won. When you think about Joe Montana, you added Jerry Rice after those first two Super Bowls. Then he won two more. When you think about Troy Aikman and guys like that, you added a Deion Sanders to that team after the first two. You end up winning in 95. When you think about Tom Brady with that huge offense and defense that he had in the early years in 2000, you added a Corey Dillon, and then he won his third Super Bowl and became a dynasty. This is the only dynasty where things were taken away. When you think about Tyreek Hill was taken away, when you think about Eric Bieniemy was taken away, arguably one of the greatest offensive minds in the league right about now. It's a shame he doesn't have a job in the NFL, but I digress. When you think about him losing Tyrann Mathieu, when you think about, just losing his left tackle in Orlando Brown, when you think about all of those things that were taken away and the fact that he still won. I mean, what quarterback have we seen? The receiving core led the league in drops, and you still managed to make it to a Super Bowl and win it. Your breakout wide receiver didn't start breaking out until the second half of the season. He was a rookie. He didn't really start breaking out to the second half of the season. Now, and it's going to be interesting this year. If he wins this year, he's going to start being in some conversations, because when you think about the distractions that have been in that team, man, I have not seen this much distraction on one team since the 95 Cowboys. That's the most that I've seen. Since the 95 Cowboys, when they was trying to come back and beat the 49ers the very next year, I've not seen that many distractions since that time for any team. It was like an episode of Law and Order every other week during the summer with the Kansas City Chiefs. It was like an episode of that every other week. It was something. I mean, and it started off early in the summer with Rashee Rice. So the thing is, I mean, it's still a question of if he's gonna, and it's still a question right now if
only
he's gonna
time will
have.
tell.
Yeah,
only time will tell, champ. But
yeah,
to your point, everything you said was right on the money. I mean, considering, did we even actually thought Kansas City had any chance of going back to the Super Bowl, let alone repeating?
I didn't think they had a chance, and you know where, because the thing is, like I said, all the things that were taken away, Eric Bieniemy dropped passes. They didn't even have a Pro Bowl running back on that team.
And remember the situation that they had during the season with Kadarius Toney. He's now at running back.
Yeah,
and and then on top of that, they, no shame to the Raiders, and shout out to Antonio Pierce, but they beat them on Christmas Day at Kansas City. And the offense, it was a hard time watching that offense that day. We knew that they were going to beat Miami because Miami struggles playing against playoff teams. This was Patrick Mahomes' first test going on the road. Nowhere, not playing in Chiefs, not playing in Arrowhead anymore, or whatever they call it in Kansas City. He goes to Buffalo. He beats Josh Allen. He goes to Baltimore. He beats Lamar Jackson, the year in which he won the second MVP. And I'm going to get into Aiden's question in just a second. And then to win the Super Bowl, and the Super Bowl MVP, 4 Super Bowl appearances, 3 Super Bowls, 3 Super Bowl MVPs. He became the first since Kurt Warner to win the MVP, Super Bowl, and Super Bowl MVP. Kurt Warner did that in 1999. He's clearly by far the best quarterback, let alone the best player in football. I think they're doing it because of the season, because of what Tyreek Hill was about to do to crack the 2,000 yards. Christian McCaffrey, we talked about him a lot, rightfully so. Best running back in the NFL. We talked about how much of a monster he was for the 49ers. Then Lamar. You can make a case for Lamar Jackson being in the Hall of Fame. And considering what he had to work with. There were even times Lamar Jackson, the game against Pittsburgh, on the road, and it wasn't because of him. A lot of drop passes in that game. Mm-hmm. So, shout out to our boy Aiden. He asked the question, do you think Lamar at 2 was stupid? No, you can't go wrong with Lamar Jackson at number 2. If you want to argue Christian McCaffrey, Tyreek Hill, okay, that's fine. You could live with that. But I don't have a problem with Lamar at 2. But Patrick Mahomes at 4? Something is wrong with this list. Look, I'm not saying they need to be what they on. They need to be drug tested. What we need to see what the hell's going on, what they smoking or drinking, because how do you not start a list and you don't put Patrick Mahomes at 1?
Yeah,
petty.
But
it's pettiness. It's pettiness. It's petty. It's petty, and the reason why I feel like it's petty, I'll give it
because of who? Yeah, because Patrick Mahomes is the face of the NFL. Yeah.
Let me tell you. There's a clip, and I saw the clip. There's a clip of Jamar Chase.
Yes.
With just this look on his face, like
didn't even want to say his name.
Who's the best player in the league? I don't want to say his name because he was bitter because they beat him they beat him, and he was bitter, and I'm just like. Bro, y'all lost. Okay, get over it, bro. Just tell it like it is. Patrick Mahomes is the undisputed best player in this league. Y'all are petty because he's doing y'all up. Take your L and keep it pushing. Y'all are petty and jealous because he's done each and every one of y'all up. The only one out of the top 4 that's right is Lamar at 2. That's it. That's the only one that's right. That's the only one that's right.
You know what, though? In the player's defense, though, I will say this. I will say this. A lot of people will deem Tom Brady as the greatest quarterback of all time. They might not necessarily deem him as the greatest player of all time. A lot of
Right.
that.
Oh, I have Jerry Rice for that. Jerry Rice is mine.
A lot of people would say that's Lawrence Taylor. So, I mean, in the player's defense, they might be saying, okay, this might be the face of the league. This might be our money grabber. This might be the best person, the best quarterback in the league. But the best player in the league is Tyreek Hill. And I can get where they get that from, because guess what? Just because you're the best quarterback in the league doesn't necessarily mean you're the best player in the league. I will say that in the player's defense, because you hear a lot of arguments about who the greatest quarterback of all time, but the greatest player of all time may not necessarily be the quarterback.
But to play devil's advocate, champ, you talked about with accolades. And when it comes to accolades and when it comes to accomplishments and resume, body of work, who currently in the NFL, regardless of position, is right there with Mahomes?
Lamar.
Outside of the MVPs, I'm super everything. Take everything into consideration. MVP, Super Bowl. Yes, Tyreek, because he's won a Super Bowl. But when you look at Patrick Mahomes, the comebacks, the fact that he's able to do this, mind you, he's done it with less tier players. How would he be without Tyreek Hill? Well, 2022 led the NFL in passing yards and passing touchdowns. As I mentioned before, he became the first since Kurt Warner to win the MVP, Super Bowl, and Super Bowl MVP. The following season, okay, could he do it again? Could he repeat? He became the Chiefs became the first team since the Patriots in 2003 and 2004 to repeat. They were able to do that. And now this, despite all the turmoil that the Chiefs had in the offseason, they have a chance to do something that's unprecedented, to three-peat. And if he plays a huge reason, champ, if Patrick Mahomes three-peats, I would not be surprised at all. They would not vote him number one. I think because of pettiness, and I think because of jealousy, they're probably going to keep him out. And if they hear, I guarantee you, champ, if CJ Stroud or any of these young players have a fantastic season, don't be surprised they go number one over Patrick Mahomes.
They may, but I think that will be a mistake. But like I said, in the players' defense, I will say they're probably looking at it from this perspective. Like I said earlier, and I hate to be repetitive, they're saying, hey, you're the best quarterback in the league. You're not necessarily the best football player in the league. Best football player, Tyreek Hill. That's what they're saying. Those are not my words. I'm just trying to put myself
from their perspective.
I'm just trying to put myself in the mind of them. Because like I said earlier, Tom Brady is considered the greatest of all time as far as quarterbacks are concerned. But as far as who's the best football player of all time, you'll get a lot of different perspectives. And a lot of people will say Lawrence Taylor.
Mm-hmm. Aiden has a comment right here. He has done better than the last few years around 2020, 2021, and 2022. Was not better than the Lamar last season. And look, Lamar had a great season, of course, winning the MVP. And the reason why he won the MVP, because look at what he had to do compared to other quarterbacks. Brock Purdy, Tua Tagovailoa, Dak Prescott, they all had their weapons. And look what Lamar Jackson had to do, given the circumstances that he was with, even though he had an outstanding defense that season. But still, if you take away Lamar Jackson out of the equation, how good would Baltimore be? Without Lamar Jackson, how good would this offense would be? We've seen the Cleveland Browns, hell, with all the injuries and everything else. We saw Joe Flacco, 38, 39 years old, taking them to the playoffs. With all the injuries that they have with Deshaun Watson, Nick Chubb, so much on. And that also gives credit to Kevin Stefanski as a head coach, rightfully so, in winning Coach of the Year. But I do think, to BRF's point, man, there's a lot of jealousy around Patrick Mahomes because he is now viewed as the face of the NFL. He's already in the discussions for the greatest quarterback right now. I have him top 3 of all time. I have Brady 1, Montana 2, Mahomes 3, I have Peyton 4, I have Aaron Rodgers 5. If Mahomes three-peats, not only he is above Montana, but you can make a compelling argument above Brady. You could make that argument because three-peating and for him to be playing this well at this age compared to how Brady previously played, even though they're different eras, champ, and I understand. But what Mahomes has done at this age is just unbelievable. So we'll see. Only time will tell. Fellas, man, let's talk about am I lagging? Lagging? Oh, am I lagging, guys?
No.
Oh, okay, cool.
No,
cool.
you're good. No, you're good with me.
Oh, I'm
You
good. I
good
just
now?
want to make sure.
That
I
was
thought
me.
it was.
I think that was me.
Oh, okay. But I think the list is preposterous. But again, we don't need to go any further. But let's talk about. Did y'all see that preseason game between the Texans and the Bears?
You know what? I was more mad about the fact that the rest. I don't want to sound like the bitter old man, but I was kind of more mad that because of the rain.
Hey, we losing?
Yeah. Might have. Hold on. Yeah, his freezing. Yeah, so his lagging.
All right. Don't worry about it, champ. When you get the technical issues in order, we'll have you back on. But BRF, did you check the Texans Bears game?
I didn't. I didn't really watch. I didn't really watch a whole lot of it because I usually don't necessarily watch the Hall of Fame game like that. Um, I guess I understand why they would call the game the way they did. I think if it was the regular season, they probably would have played that game out. But with it being the preseason, you kind of want to like take the precautions. You kind of want to protect, the players are the investment of the NFL at the end of the day, and you want to protect your investment. So I feel like if there's regular season, they probably would have seen what the weather had done, let them play it out. But with it being preseason, they didn't want to take any chances. So from that perspective, I completely understand why they suspended the game. They give the Bears a win. You keep it pushing. Yeah, I don't. The first preseason game of the year, you don't want to take no chances like that with those players' health in the preseason. So I completely understand why they called it. I think they would have played in the regular season, but in the preseason, you kind of want to you kind of want to, you cut your losses, you call it, and you move on to the next one. I completely understand why they did it.
Champ, you're back on, man. What were your thoughts about the game? You mentioned you don't want to be the bitter old man.
I don't want to be the bitter old man, but you canceled the last quarter. I've been waiting months for that game. I watch everything, so it's like But like I said, I understand player safety. Got to protect the players and make sure that they're good. You don't want to walk out there outside and get struck by lightning. We don't want that to happen. That would be a tragic situation. And if you really ask me, the NFL has been through enough tragedies on live TV for enough the last couple of years. So that would have been very, very tragic. But I'm grateful that the NFL is here, man. I mean, it's something about that smell of football season. It's something about the feel of it that it's here. And for that first kickoff to happen, and it was flat out amazing, man. I enjoyed that game. It was a darn good game, and I'm quite frankly, man, I'm just excited, man. Plus, we get to talk about it every single Friday, man. It's amazing.
Absolutely. What are your thoughts about the kickoff and the onside kick rules?
I don't like that rule. I don't think I should have to tell you what I'm about to do. I mean, it's kind of like in boxing. I got to tell you I'm going for a right hook, so you can
Right.
counter. It's
That,
kind
that
of weird.
yeah, unorthodox. Because
Yeah.
again, with sports, you want to see something unpredictable.
Mhm.
What I saw I had saw a graphic for the new onside kick rule, but I can't remember them.
Well, I'll
I ain't know
find
if either one of you could pull them up real quick.
Yeah, you have to tell the court. Excuse me. So, onside kicks cannot happen until the fourth quarter. At a
Right.
certain point. And
I
the
saw
team has
okay,
to be
yeah.
and the team has to be down.
Right.
And they cannot do an onside kick unless they inform the other team and the referee. So I'm like, well, darn, I'd never see another situation like what Sean Payton did in the Super Bowl where the Saints won. I'd never see another situation like what Bill Cowher did as far as, what he did in Super Bowl 95. So it's like you're taking the element out of surprise out of there. And it's like, hey, onside kick. If I want to kick the ball to start off, if I want to start off and I got a Devin Hester type of player on the other side, and I want to kick an onside kick to start it off to see if I can get the ball back just to play a role in the psyche of my opponent, I should be able to do that. But, competition committee, as usual, they're trying to make it a little bit more exciting for the casual fan. Football savants, we don't really like it, but the casual fan, they may look at it and get a kick out of it. And it's all about what the fans want, man.
Ooh, yeah, okay. Getting the refresher of the onside kick rules, they are stupid. They are dumb. They are dumb. Like what you're basically doing now, a lot of these teams, when it's late in the game, say it's like a minute to go and they're down by 3, they have one or maybe have a timeout. They're gonna be a little okay. We're about to do an onside kick. Man, you might as well just kick the ball off and pray your defense can make a stop at this point. You might as well. You might as well at this point. There are gonna be a lot more games now decided. I mean, a lot of games are decided by the last possession anyway. A lot of them are, but I think now even more games are going to be decided by the last possession because now these teams are going to be scared to go for an onside kick. You're probably going to see more squib kicks. You're probably going to see more short kicks. You're not going to see a lot of balls going to the end zone in a situation like that just to get the ball away, just to get them on the field, get their defense on the field, and having to make a stop. So I don't like it because the onside kick is one of the fun parts of the game. I mean, you got to have an element of surprise somewhere. Everybody doesn't always have to know what you're doing. You're taking the fun. That's some fun out of sports you're taking away. You got to have an element of surprise somewhere. That's what makes the competition great. That's what makes it special. So
Besides,
yeah.
don't casual fans want to see something unpredictable, something that they
Exactly.
never imagined?
Exactly. You would think drawing the ire of the casual fans with the onside kick is one of those things you do, an element of surprise. I mean, an element of surprise should be something that would be something to definitely draw the casual fan anyway. I mean, if I'm a fan coming and looking at the NFL and I see this and I'm like, and you like, okay, so they have to tell them they're doing this now. Well, that just takes the fun out of the last possession of the game when the team when the other team know what's coming. So it's like, I don't know. You got to have some form of an element of a surprise somewhere. I think that you're gonna see even more late kickoffs with in that 3-minute or less time frame in the fourth quarter. Now you're going to see a lot more full-on kickoff. Now teams aren't going to want to just give away what they want to do. You're just going to have to see more defenses late in the game that are going to be forced to have to make a stop late in the game and try to get the ball back for their offense. I think this is what this rule is going to entail now, and I think it's dumb. Taking away an element of surprise. I don't like it.
I agree. I completely agree. BRF. Let's end off the show with a couple of topics I came up with. Favorite Undertaker moment. BRF, you go first.
Why you throwing this at me, PSP? God,
What I do.
you just you and
As
Champ.
Champ
I swear
calls
to God,
me the New Jersey
you
genius. I'm a
you
slickster.
you and Champ. I swear to God, y'all don't throw curveballs. Y'all throw knuckleballs. Y'all throw screwballs, bro. Y'all be hitting it. That's why y'all two the greatest, boy. I can't even knock it.
Great minds think alike.
You right about that, and let me tell you something. I'm glad I get to do this with y'all every week because y'all are the greatest for a reason, bro. Yes, sir. If I have to, like I said, Undertaker's on my all-time Mount Rushmore of wrestlers. So trying to pick one Undertaker moment is gonna be so hard. And I feel like the second Dead Man run of the Undertaker was better
Than the first one.
as far as like match. As far as like match quality was better than like the beginning of his like the first Dead Man run and then the transition into the American Badass. Like his second Dead Man run, I feel like was his best.
The mind skills
what's his best?
they were even much better than the first one. And I'm glad you mentioned about the second run with the Dead Man. You know how I view it? Shout out to Casual because he brought it up on my pod. Remember, he talked about how great Shawn Michaels' second one was better than
His second run was better than his first run. His second run was better than his first run.
Yes.
Yeah. It's like that's why I feel like Undertaker and Shawn Michaels together are so revered, and that's why. I mean, how fitting is it? Shawn Michaels' last match was the Undertaker. I mean, just how fitting is it? And we're talking about it. So, if I had to pick one Undertaker moment for me that stands out, my favorite all-time Undertaker moment, because he's had so many amazing matches. But if I have to pick one, WrestleMania 28, end of an era, Hell in a Cell. Yes. Well, and honestly, not just that. I feel like one of the greatest stories WWE has ever put to paper and put on the camera for us to watch. And I've said it before, and I'm gonna say it again. From WrestleMania 25 to WrestleMania 28, the two matches with Shawn Michaels and the two matches with Triple H, Undertaker just basically putting DX in a bottle and just saying, I don't care how good you are not me. And just like the jealous, and it's just like the stories they were telling, like you could just seeing a little bit of hint and jealousy in Shawn Michaels of Triple H being that guy who's like almost like saying, okay, you're great, but I got the kill. Basically, you're great, but I got the killer instinct that you're gonna need to go up against the Undertaker in a situation like this. And the fact that Undertaker still just shoved it in his face and said, you can have all the killer instinct you want, you're not me. and that ending of that Hell in a Cell when Undertaker and Shawn Michaels pick up Triple H after the match and they embrace with each other. And you knew that's them putting that final bow on the Attitude Era. And Champ, PSP, y'all know we watch Attitude Era stuff. We know what the Attitude Era means to us as wrestling fans. And seeing them put that final bow on it, I'm gonna be completely honest with you. I don't think he could have had any other three guys.
And you even thought that match, you thought Undertaker almost lost the streak. When Shawn Michaels hit him with that super kick, the sweet chin music, followed by
the sweet chin music into that sweet chin music into the pedigree, I thought that was a wrap. Like I was watching, like I was watching that pay-per-view, and I saw it happen. And then Undertaker kicked out at 2. I swear to God, I have never heard a stadium on camera so loud after a kick out. After Undertaker kicked out of that, I've never heard a stadium so loud for a false finish. I've never heard a stadium so loud because everybody thought it was over. And then just that whole 4-year time frame, that whole 4-year journey with those three was just so perfect. And the ending of the Hell in a Cell, all three of them walking up the ramp, embracing on the ramp, just knowing what that moment meant for us. It was classic. You couldn't wrote it any better. And just shout out to all three of them. Just how good they were for as long as they were, to like knowing that Undertaker and Triple H were like in the twilight. You might as well say they're in the twilights of the career, still going out and putting out a banger match like that. That hell, I mean, the fact that they even and I think we even got more excited for it because I mean this is still PG era WWE, and the fact that they're bringing this Hell in a Cell match back, and you know with guys like Undertaker and Triple H, you know this ain't gonna be no PG era Hell in a Cell match. They finna beat the hell out of each other. This ain't finna be no PG era Hell in a Cell match. They finna get it in. It was just it was perfect for me. That match was so well done, and the ending was great. And just you can't say enough about how good that match was, and the ending to that match, and just putting a bow on an era that basically almost defines professional wrestling, like how fun it is, just the unpredictability of it. It was just great and well done. That's my favorite Undertaker moment of all time. Just that entire 4-year stretch leading up to that moment at the Hell in a Cell end of an era match was just well done. Chef's kiss. Just kudos to everybody involved in that.
Champ, what is your favorite Taker moment?
The Inferno match. The first ever Inferno match. That is by far the most diabolical. People talk about Hell in a Cell. When I first heard about it, Inferno match, I'm looking at my brother, God rest his soul. I said, they gonna really set nobody on fire, is it? And then lo and behold, they brought out the ring, and the whole thing was surrounded by fire. I'm like, and up until the end of the match, I still didn't believe that somebody was gonna catch a fire. And unfortunately, that was Kane. But for them to compete in a match, and there's a reason why there's only 4 Inferno matches in the WWE history, and all of them have involved either the Undertaker or Kane. I don't think we'll ever see an Inferno match nowadays. You can pretty much hang that up. But for you to be honest with you, it was a spectacular match. You had them going, I mean, for them to finish off that rivalry that started at WrestleMania 14 and to end it off on one of the most bizarre matches, arguably in the history of not just the WWE, but the history of wrestling, is flat amazing. And you got to see every element of Kane being a destruction machine, because remember, up leading up to that, he had hit Vader in the face with a wrench at No Way Out of Texas. So to see Vader come back, try to get revenge on Kane, and the pinnacle of that match is when the Undertaker bounced off the rope and you heard JR, the Undertaker, oh my God. When he flew, he was like he Superman through the air, and it's just like that was amazing. I mean, so the first ever Inferno match, man, it was that was great, man. Man. JR.
I'm laughing
a 6'11"
BRF brought up. Remember when BRF brought up, I'm having an out-of-body experience.
Yeah.
WrestleMania 25. That is still one of my all-time favorite calls. When Shawn Michaels kicked out of that tombstone and JR hit me with that line, I was just like, oh boy, if this match, and the fact that match did not get 5 stars. I mean, I'm not a proponent of the 5-star, but the fact that match did not get a 5-star match still baffles me to this day. I'm like Meltzer, what are you watching, bro? That's a 5-star match we just watched. How does that not get 5 stars? And how does a 6'11", 330-pound dude do some of the things that the Undertaker did as regards to like just gliding over the top rope the way he would do? And then it got to a point where he would just save it for like every WrestleMania and pull that spot out. I mean, it was just like the coolest thing ever. Like, how, like, bro, my big ass wouldn't go through the second rope, let alone trying to jump over the top rope. Hey, I'm just keeping it a buck. Like I'm not flying through the. I'm not doing a tope suit. I'm not doing a tope suicida, let alone jumping over that top rope. Like what are we doing here?
Lord,
What are we doing here? What are we doing? Oh. I'm just keeping it a buck. I'm just keeping it a buck.
Why Cam calls Marshall the highlight reel or whatever he calls it.
The highlight of Friday night since
Right,
here.
highlight.
Always pay attention. You never know what will happen. That is classic. That
But
is
I'm
classic.
telling you, bro, we keep you on your toes over here. Like,
One of my favorite Taker moments. I gotta admit this. Remember the promos he and Randy Orton did before WrestleMania 21? Remember? And also, too, one of my favorite underrated heels, John Bradshaw Layfield, JBL. Remember SummerSlam when Taker lost the match by disqualification? And my favorite moment is when he chokeslammed JBL through the hell of that limousine.
ooh.
If I ever seen something said that's got to be painful, it was that.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, let's not forget the last man. Remember the match? Him, JBL, I think it was No Mercy, and then Heidenreich interfered in that match.
Yes,
The last ride match.
Yes. Courtesy of Teddy Long, by the way.
Speaking of Teddy Long, do you remember when Undertaker kidnapped Teddy Long?
You know what? No. Hey,
Where to, Teddy?
I never forget this, man. Look, if you was a heel back during Teddy Long's age, if you was one of those, very, very, bad guys back during Teddy Long's reign as general manager, I will never forget this. And you know what I'm about to say.
I know what you're about to say, too.
So tonight, you're going to go one-on-one with The Undertaker.
Okay.
Your night just turned from sugar to crap just that fast.
It was either Teddy Long. It was either that or it was the 6-man tag.
he always kept that in his back pocket. Tonight, you're going. It never fails. He moved his face to the left. So tonight, you're going to go one-on-one with The Undertaker.
Mm-hmm.
And that just messed up everything, man. Big shout out to Teddy Long.
2 underrated matches from Taker I love so much. Remember Fully Loaded 1999 when he faced Stone Cold Steve Austin, the first blood match? Remember that was the end of an era. If Stone Cold lost that match, he would never have another opportunity for the WWE
That's
title.
one of my favorite Undertaker. Bro, I'm so glad you mentioned that. That is one of my favorite Undertaker matches.
Go ahead, BRF. Continue.
No, I'm just saying. I'm so glad you mentioned that. That is one of my favorite Undertaker matches. I mean, the storytelling was amazing. I think Fully Loaded 99 was it was the first WWE pay-per-view that I'd ever bought. Was Fully Loaded 99. It was the first one I purchased because it was DirecTV. They used to be $29.95 back in the day, and it was the first one that I bought with the remote on TV. And because I remember that was the triple main event. Undertaker, Russell, Kurt Angle. No, not that one. I'm thinking about something else. No. That was the run with The Rock and Triple H with the strap match with the number one contendership for the WWF title. Yeah, I remember that. I mean, just that match was just. I mean, when that happened, when they announced that match, I'm like, you knew it was gonna get overbooked, but they just did it so well. And then ultimately Stone Cold busted Undertaker open, and then it was just like with the camera, and then the slow build, and then Earl Hebner finally saw him and called the match, and you're just like, man. I mean, you knew Vince McMahon wasn't on TV long.
Oh man, Jim Ross's commentary. Ring the damn bell. It's over.
Yes. And
another great match from Taker Remember the Hell in the Cell match with Kurt Angle, Rock, Rikishi, Stone Cold, Taker.
Mm.
Remember when Taker threw Rikishi off the Hell in the Cell with the choke slam?
That was so great. I remember that one. All those guys were in the cell wrestling, doing their thing, and then he throws Rikishi off the top, and then they see him hit the truck. They see him hit the truck bed, and then they're all just like, "We in the ring with this man." Like it was almost like it almost humbled them all. Like they got reminded, like, "Oh God, we are in here with the Undertaker, aren't we?"
They all saw the thing when Taker chokeslammed Rikishi. We were like,
Mm.
but he and Randy Orton, man, back in the day, they cut some hella promos. The hella promos, BRF, especially leading up to WrestleMania 21, and then they've had some great matches as well. Remember when Randy Orton, when he drove Eddie Guerrero, got arrested, so Eddie Guerrero's one of his low riders while Taker was in it, and then he smashed it. Remember that?
Yeah, I remember that.
Hmm.
I remember that. That Undertaker Randy Orton rivalry of 2005 was very underrated. It was very good. That I'm telling you, the backlash match for Randy Orton with Mick Foley put Randy Orton on the map, but the Undertaker feud really established him as somebody you better be paying attention to for the next 10, 15 years because you knew he wasn't going to go anywhere. Because like when the Undertaker feuds with you like that and actually puts you over in a match, we know you're about to be somebody as long as you keep your head on straight.
Mm-hmm. And let's not forget him and Edge, Taker and Edge. Remember those? Remember that? That was
Mm-hmm.
Hey, I think one of the best moves that the Undertaker ever brought out was the Hell's Gates. I love that move. That submission UFC move that showed you the athleticism and the evolution of hey, yes,
You
I
mean
know
the
I'm
Hell's
gonna
Gate?
The Hell's Gate submission.
that
Oh
triangle
yeah.
choke. Yeah, the fact that he could add that into his repertoire as a wrestling move, number one, goes to show you how intelligent Taker was. I see how big of a wave this UFC thing is right about now. I got the UFC gloves and everything on, and I see how much of an impact that has on culture right about now. Let me add that and show not only how smart I am, but my athleticism, man.
Yeah, Taker used to play college basketball.
Yeah, he's people undersell these wrestlers, man. These are some of the greatest athletes in the world. Remember, Ron Simmons got retired from Florida State. Ahmed Johnson played for the Dallas Cowboys. I mean, there's plenty of football players, college and pro, that went to wrestling and was darn successful at it. So, we can't undersell these guys as athletes, man. Don't undersell them. But for him to add that late in his career goes to show you, hey, I may be seasoned, but I'm still evolving.
Right. And I think with Taker, it's Texas, man. When it comes to wrestling, you got Stone Cold, you got Taker, Shawn Michaels, Booker T. I mean, and then of course we all know Canada. Texas, is it fair to say it's right up there with the wrestling?
Yeah, I mean, Texas was the count.
In terms of their stars, you cannot argue. You can't argue it.
Yeah, you can't. And remember, man, all of those guys started at one point at the Dallas, Texas Sportatorium, which was home for the Von Erichs. So big shout out to the Von Erichs for paving that way. Fritz Von Erich, rest his soul, and the Von Erich family. So because everybody, including Booker T and a lot of other guys, started at that Sportatorium. That was the center of the wrestling universe for a long, long time. So big ups to, and the Von Erichs put that on the map. So big ups to the Von Erich family. Rest in peace to the brothers and Mr. Fritz Von Erich. And hey, the Sportatorium was the center of the world. And that's what inspired all of those great wrestlers from Texas in order to go out there and pave the way for a lot of other Texas wrestlers. I mean, that Sportatorium was special. And and it's legend, it's flat out legendary. The Sportatorium in Texas is the equivalent of what the Dungeon is to Canada when it comes to wrestling.
Mm-hmm. And speaking of that, champ, shout out to Flash. He brought up that the Hart family, they trained Abdullah the Butcher.
Yeah,
which is shocking to me.
Yeah, because he doesn't see the real reason why. And this is no disrespect to Abdullah the Butcher, but the thing is, when you think about the Dungeon, you think about submission wrestlers. You think about technicians. You don't pretty much think about the first Mick Foley before Mick Foley, which was Abdullah the Butcher. So,
right. And also, champ, I don't know, because you were having some technical difficulties earlier. BR, another great moment I brought up with Taker. Remember the Hell in a Cell match with Rock, Kurt Angle, Triple H, Stone Cold, Rikishi, and Taker? And when Taker chokeslammed Rikishi's ass from the Hell in a Cell, what were your thoughts about that?
Yeah, that was a scary moment. I ordered that pay-per-view. That was the funny story about that. Bob said that's the last one you're getting this year. So, but yeah, by then it went up to $30. But yeah, that one was a match of chaos. If you want to see a chaotic match, and for Kurt Angle to come out that victorious, because I didn't think he had one chance of winning that. I thought one of the bigger stars was going to win that, but you know, he's still the only person to ever win a 6-man Hell in a Cell. But when he tossed him off that cell, and I mean, it wasn't the toss, it was the impact in which he hit. It was the impact. I mean, when he hit, it was like Rikishi bounced, and you felt, and you saw the car, and you saw the truck move with all that hay on it, and it was just like, it's like, wow. It was just
was
showing
it
another
worse
side.
than Mick Foley?
Depending on who you ask, I mean, that one was a scary moment. That was scary.
Worse than Mick Foley? No, because the thing with Mick Foley, you have to look at the only thing that saved Mick Foley was that announce table, and it really didn't save him all that much. So outside of the announce table, he basically went from the top to the floor with just the announce table basically making the fall not as hard. Like I said, I think what makes the Rikishi spot just as memorable were the faces of the wrestlers in the ring after he got tossed. That's what makes that spot so memorable, because like I was talking about with you, PSP, and I'll let you hear it, champ. It made the wrestlers. It reminded the wrestlers who the hell the Undertaker was, and it was almost like, it was almost like a realization, like, oh crap, we are in a Hell in a Cell match with the Undertaker. Yeah, he is capable of this. Yeah, he is capable of this. Yeah, we need to hurry up and win this before he grabs one of us.
Hey, that one was a memorable moment, man. Like I said, the impact in which he hit, and Rikishi is not a small guy, and you know, although he's not a small guy, for him to,
he's a big dude.
He's big, pretty big dude, and you know, for him to hit with that impact and the way he bounced in that hay and on that truck, it was like, I'm like, you're hoping that he gets up, but you're just like, if he don't get up and continue, you understand. It's like, man, that one was a memorable match, and for them to put in, and for those 6 superstars to pull that off goes to show you how great they were, because that was a match of chaos, because you really didn't know who was going to win, who was going to lose, and because, you know, I really thought Triple H was going to win that one, you know, especially considering he had just wrestled the biggest Hell in a Cell of his career against, you know, the great Cactus Jack. A lot of those other guys outside of Taker and Triple H had never really been in a Hell in a Cell. So I really thought Triple H was going to get it, but Kurt Angle. But, hey, Taker, hey, if Ain't No Joke was a wrestler, I would say it would have to be The Undertaker.
Absolutely. Fellas, since the episode is called Hot in Here, what's your favorite Nelly track?
Champ, I'll let you go first.
Look, I loved the track that he did on Training Day. What does it take to be number one?
Number one.
2, it's not a winner, and 3, nobody remembers. I think that one was great, man. I mean, people understate Nelly, man. People don't understand how huge he was. And if you ever needed any evidence of how big he was, listen to Jay-Z's verse in Excuse Me, Miss. Only dudes moving units is M, Pimp Juice, and us. And if anybody was alive back then, everybody knew that Nelly had an energy drink called Pimp Juice. So for the great Jay-Z, who's arguably one of the greatest of all time, if not the greatest of all time, for him to shout you out doing a song during that era that was arguably, and you heard Nelly say it, and I agree with him, arguably the most competitive era in hip-hop history was the early 2000s. You had a little bit of everybody. You had a little bit of everybody. So for Nelly to number one has to be up there, and also EI. EI was good, man. I mean, Nelly. And the thing is, he did
lagging a little bit.
I'm lagging.
No. Now you're good. Now you're good.
I'm lagging.
Continue, man. You good now, man.
And for him, he did it differently. He did it during the era of a lot of gangster rap and a lot of other things. He did it differently. He brought it back to the party and having fun again. He made it cool again. You might hear a little bit of gangster here and there, but the thing was, he did it differently. He did it very, very differently. So him to the during the era of gangster rap, and when he was at his peak at a certain point, nothing but respect for him at that point. That's
BRF.
Well, I mean, Champ. He called number one. He called EI. One that Pimp Juice was another good one. I love Pimp Juice. Pimp Juice. I'm gonna say this like this. Country Grammar is one of my favorite rap albums of all time. Like I still to this day feel like it was better than Nellyville, but I digress. I know Nellyville's probably the bigger album, but I feel like Country Grammar was the better album. But that's neither here nor there. That's a conversation for another day. My favorite Nelly track. My favorite Nelly track is Grills. My favorite one's Grills. Okay. with him and Paul Wall and Ali and Big Gip. Grills is my favorite one, just because I mean honestly, because I ain't gonna lie, I had one at the time. I bought one. That was a very influential song. It got everybody out to get one, and I got one myself. And I got a funny story about that. I think it was like my 23rd or 24th birthday. I can't remember, but I bought one of those Grills. And you being young, you got to show it off. So I took a picture with it in my mouth. So sure enough, I think it was my 24th birthday. One of my cousins had a birthday cake, and it's one of those cakes that you could put a picture on it, and you can embed a picture on it. And guess which picture was on the birthday cake? It was me with that big grill flashing on my face, all in front of the camera, and it's like one of the funniest things I've ever seen. So, yeah, for me, and then I mean, Grills to me is basically Nelly in a nutshell. Like he was lyrical. His beats were always on point, but it was about the fun, and it was just about the essence of what hip hop is. And Grills for me is like my favorite because Yeah, I will still bump a lot of Nelly songs to this day, but for me, Grills is just like I love the beat. I could ride to that. I could ride just to that instrumental. I don't need the lyrics. That's what I feel is a great hip hop song. A great hip hop song. If you can ride to the instrumental and you don't need the lyrics, that tells you how good of a song it was. And for me, that was Grills. Grills was a great song. You don't need the lyrics. You can just bump to the instrumental. That's how good a song it was for me.
Ride With Me. I love Ride With Me with Nelly. This is one of my favorite ones. Give me 2 pairs because I need 2 pairs so I get to stomping in my Air Force Ones. Big boy stopping on my Air Force Ones. Love that track. I mean, my brother back then in Haiti, we used to play that track. Remember, we used to listen to it on 106 in Park back in the day. We played that song. Another great one from Nelly. I'm sorry, I love it because Ray Lewis, the Hot in Here. When Ray Lewis does that signature dance pregame, I mean, it's exciting. I mean, it's just exciting to see, man, and that song. So, Ride With Me, Air Force Ones, and then the other one, Hot in Here. But Nelly, man, shout outs to him. I mean, he put St. Louis on that map. Definitely so.
Mhm. Yeah, but like I said, he did it differently, man. For like I said, that was still an era of gangster rap and flash and the flash of hip hop and still some of the, you know, some of the dark things about hip hop when you think about some of the gangster rap lyrics and stuff like that. He made it cool to be fun again. He made it cool to, but to floss, but at the same time have fun at the party. I mean, hey, I'm not gonna lie, man. If I was smaller in high school, man, I mean, I want to be like Nelly because I had the St. Louis throwback jersey, man. I mean, I had that.
Remember the eye
I
patch?
had the St. Louis. Yeah, I remember the eye patch. I couldn't wear that; my face was too big. But I had the Air Force One and the throwback jersey. I had that. So yeah, man, tried to be like Nelly, man, with wearing the jersey and the Jabos. Everybody remember the throwbacks and the Jabos. Man, that was a classic era, man. That was awesome, man. And like I said, he did it differently. He did it very, very differently. He made it cool to be fun again. He was essentially the Fresh Prince of the Midwest.
I won't say the track, but there was a certain music video that
You do, hey, the PSP. We know you do not have to say the title of that track. We know exactly what you talking about.
It's very conspicuous.
Yes.
The one we had to wait for at 3 a.m. So
yes, exactly.
Hey fellas, y'all think I got more with Nelly? Stay tuned next week because we probably gonna do favorite Ludacris track.
ooh, that's
Not,
not
oh man.
For the Sports PSP pod when it comes to music. If we don't just talk about sports, man, we talk about music, we talk about entertainment. We love doing whatever we love to do. Skip Bayless, he announced that today was his last day on FS1 on Undisputed. Look, we had a conversation a couple of weeks ago on the show. It was reported by the New York Post that he was leaving. I hope for Skip Bayless he finds opportunities. Let me see if I can find the exact tweet from Skip Bayless. But we talked about Skip Bayless. Actually, it says it right here. Here's the tweet. Today was my last show on Undisputed. I'm leaving FS1. I've been planning to pursue other opportunities for several months. I had a great 8-year run with a lot of great people at Fox, but now I'm excited for what's coming up. Stay tuned. I hope for Skip Bayless he finds another opportunity. But let's be honest, to be realistic, he won't have what he once had. With First Take, you had Stephen A. Smith. And then you go to Fox Sports 1 to go with Shannon Sharpe on Undisputed. So I don't see Skip Bayless retiring. He's probably going to do his thing on YouTube just in order for him to stay connected with the community or Twitter or Instagram or whatever. But bottom line is, I just don't see Skip Bayless having what he once had. I will give him a lot of credit for opening the door for opportunities for Stephen A. Smith, Shannon Sharpe, and for people like us to do podcasts and to do what we do. We give a lot of credit to Skip Bayless, but at the same time, he did this to himself. And I said it, the writing was on the wall. What he said about Shannon Sharpe, calling him jealous of Tom Brady, and then the Damar Hamlin, it was it. And when you look at First Take, the ratings compared to Undisputed, we don't even need to go any further. It is what it is. As for Skip, man, I just wish him nothing but the best. But any final comments before we wrap up the show?
I can go ahead, champ.
I have one observation that I've been making, and it's maybe just me. Maybe it's just me. I don't know for sure. Have you guys noticed that a lot of athletes, former athletes, a lot of journalists, and a lot of journalists, a lot of former athletes, pro athletes, a lot of them are venturing to the more independent route rather than being on the network. I don't know if it's
you see
just
that
me.
with Marcellus Wiley.
Yeah, you see that with Marcellus Wiley. You see it with Cam Newton. You see it with even Brandon Marshall and, that old crew. And you see it with the pivot. You see a lot of young men pivoting towards the more independent circuit rather than being on large networks. And I think that is going to be very much a detriment to networks in the long run. And don't be surprised you start seeing a lot of new faces on these networks. Hell, they might even hire one of us. So don't be surprised, because the thing is, a lot of these athletes, like I said, Cam Newton, and they're very, very popular shows. When you think about Cam Newton, First and One, Funky Fresh, when you think about all of these shows, a lot of those shows are going the more independent route rather than, going towards, I want to be on a major network. And it's probably because of creative control,
Exactly what it is.
It probably was because of creative control. Nobody has control over what they say. And quite frankly, when it comes to Skip Bayless, he's a hell of a journalist. I would not take anything from him. He covered some of the greatest teams of all time, including that SMU team, that Dallas team, and that Chicago team. But it comes down to this. Are people still going to listen to you? Because you're nothing in this business. You're nothing without the audience. So it's just a question of, are people still going to listen to you at a certain point? We know you're a hell of a journalist. We know you've done great things. But after some of the horrible takes that you've made and fumbling one of the greatest shows, arguably of all time, are people still going to listen to you at a certain point? But that's just an observation that I made. Sorry about that, guys.
No, it's all good, man.
Hey, where there's man, because where there's smoke, there's fire, man. No, that's a good observation. Because honestly, let's keep it a buck. I think going independent and having their own podcast is probably where a lot of the money and a lot of the advertising and marketing's at. Because creative control definitely has a lot to do with that. But it's like when you have say so over what you put out, and then at that point, like all likes, follows, like shares, just like everything that goes into like the podcast, like the art, if you want to call it the YouTube era, the podcast era, getting your followers, getting the views and likes and everything. Just everything, just doing the independent route as opposed to going to the networks. I think just makes more sense nowadays for a lot of these athletes that want to go into the podcast podcast realm of things. And I mean, All the Smoke and The Pivot are two of my favorite ones. Like All the Smoke, you know, shout out to Steven Jackson and Matt Barnes for that, because I love that show, even though it's a Showtime show. I love that show. And then The Pivot, Ryan Clark, Channing Crowder, Fred Taylor, like shout out to them boys, man. Their podcast is probably my favorite one to watch as far as like the athletes doing their thing out there. So shout out to them. Yeah, being independent, I feel like it's the best way to do it. Just being able to control have your say so, being able to put out what you want to put out, but still in those cases, still being young enough to kind of relate with the crowd of the day and understanding what they'll listen to and what draws them in. And with Skip, is like, yeah, I mean, Champ pretty much hit the nail on the head. Are people still going to listen to him? Are people still going to listen to him? Are people still going to listen to him at the end of the day? Because nowadays people with Skip Bayless, they kind of like, they hear him talk and they kind of get like the roll of the eyes, and it's like, oh gosh, it's Skip Bayless. Here he goes again. What he's going to say this time? So it's sometimes it's capturing the audience, but then it's also keeping them. And he was able to capture and keep them for a long time, but now that's kind of worn off. So it's like all these other shows coming out, everybody, opportunities opening up, you got us doing our thing here with the podcast. So many opportunities coming up, the younger generations, everybody's doing it right now. So it's like, is he going to be able to still be relevant and be able to prevail in an era where it's like, it's not really suited for him as far as like YouTube and the podcasting and stuff like that. So, I mean, look, he knows, look, he still knows sports and he still knows how to talk about the world of sports. So we can't knock him. But I think at this point in his career, it's like, you want him to do well, but it's kind of like one of those things where you take a realistic approach and look, and it's just like, there's too much, there are too many better options out there. So I wish him nothing but the best, but PSP, you said it. This is on him. This is clearly on him.
He blew it because of ego tripping. His ego got too big, and I think it got too out of control. And that's what happens with people with big egos. They blow the opportunities and they don't realize how much they've lost. And I think Skip is learning the hard way. Like to your point, Champ, you mentioned about Taker. Hey, he evolved. You mentioned about the Hell's Gate. Even though I'm seasoned, I'm evolving. Skip's in his 70s. So in order for you to keep up, Skip doesn't want to retire. He still wants to continue giving his takes. You're going to have to evolve. And that's something that Skip Bayless, unfortunately, that he is going to have to do. And plus, they're tired of hearing what you have to say about the Dallas Cowboys. They're tired of hearing what you have to say about LeBron James. They're tired of hearing what you say about everything else. They probably want to hear something different. And Skip Bayless really turned off a lot of people. And because of Because of ego. Again, I mentioned Troy Aikman, the situation, and you mentioned it as well, Champ. Even Deion Sanders checked them. The situation, and he alienated people from Fox Sports 1. Remember the moderator, Jenny Taft. Remember when Skip Bayless fat shamed Mike McCarthy? And Jenny Taft took huge issue with it, and rightfully so. And Skip Bayless didn't like the fact that he was put in his place because of Skip Bayless, the position that he's in, how much money he's paid on FS1, the star of the show. And look, I hope Skip has learned a valuable lesson. I wish him well. Do I think his new opportunity will be successful? Realistically, no. Because you're not going to have what you once had. And he had multiple great opportunities, not just First Take with Stephen A. Smith, but also on Undisputed. And to Champ's point, he blew it because of ego. So now with this new opportunity, I don't see him having the success he once had. And I just don't know. And also the audience, are people going to be tuned in to actually come take the time to do an interview with him or a discussion with him about sports or anything? He still has connections, but are people actually willing to take the time? Because look what happened with Richard Sherman. Look what happened with Shannon Sharp. Look at happened with a lot of other people that he's invited on the show. I mean, and of course, there is no bigger critic of Skip Bayless than one Charles Barkley. We won't get into details of what Charles Barkley wants to do to Skip Bayless.
Yeah, that was it. But hey, it all comes down to what people listen to you, man. And I don't think it's only so much bad takes and hot takes that you can do before it starts to get old. People watch sports because we want facts. It's a very opinionated business, but when you have facts to back up your opinion, it's not an opinion anymore. You have it's a fact backed up by a fact. But it's only so many hot takes that you can do before people just say, you know what? And I mean, another prime example of that would be another journalist. You know who he is. We're not going to say anybody's name, but you know a particular journalist that loves to shame a lot of cats. So, you know, they had problems with Allen Iverson, had problems with a lot of other guys, had problems with Stephen A. Smith. In fact, Stephen A. did a whole montage on him. So it's only so many bad takes that you can do before people stop paying attention to you. And it's just like, that guy is off the wall. We don't want to talk. We don't want to hear him anymore. Enough of the hot takes.
I think I already told you how I feel about that certain individual. What did I say about Roland? In the words of Roland Martin, I quote the Simple Simon mofo.
Yes, indeed.
That's how I feel about that certain individual. And I think you know who we referring to. We won't even mention his name.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So many bad takes that you can make. And people don't want to see all of that. Hot takes are good, but as we say down south, you know this for a fact, BRL, there is a time and place for everything. And hearing hot takes all the time is not necessarily what everybody wants to hear all the time.
They want to hear the truth. But sometimes people just can't handle the truth. But anyway, fellas, that concludes a wrap of the Sports PSP podcast. I appreciate my guys, BRF Sports and Undisputed World Champ. Any final words, and tell them where to follow y'all at.
I'll go. I take it. As always, BRF Sports is the TikTok handle. Linktree, link is in the bio. Big Sugar 1122. You can catch my Twitter/X, my IG, Facebook page, and I also have a Discord. I have an active Discord link in my Linktree as well. So if y'all want to get in, join the Discord, talk sports with me. Y'all are more than welcome to. It's always a pleasure getting on here with PSP. It's always a pleasure sharing the stage with Champ. You know what I'm saying? Me and Champ, we call ourselves 2/3 of the big three for a reason, because this is what we do and we enjoy to do it. And we feel like there are very few that do it like we can. So, and also with you, with having PSP on here, shout out to you on your success. You know, like your follower list just keep growing. You deserve all the success that's gonna come your way. Champ, same with you. And it's like I always want to say, a topic not thought about is a topic not talked about. And I mean that, and we're gonna keep going. Shout out to both of y'all, man. Love both of your brothers, man. It's always a pleasure getting on here doing this with y'all, man. I have so much fun every week doing this stuff with y'all, man. It's been an honor. Y'all giving me this platform, getting on the map, you know, trying to make myself bigger. I couldn't ask for two better brothers to be on the stage with doing stuff like this. So I'm grateful for both of y'all.
Appreciate it, BRF. Champ?
Shout out to Columbus, Georgia, #1. Good night tonight, man. If you know what a good night is in Columbus, Georgia, you know what I'm talking about. But great night tonight, man. Hell of a job to the city, man. Hey, gotta send a huge shout out to him. #1, Congratulations, PSP, 8,100 followers and subscribers. Big ups to you, man. It's been fun being on this ride with you, man. Thank you for always inviting me. I'm glad I always do a great job in order for you to invite me back every week. So I'm glad I do a great job. But you keep me on my toes during the week with some of the videos and the content that you send me and get my opinion on it. So you keep me on my toes during the week when I might be slacking off. So good job on that, man. Look, always a privilege, a pleasure, and an honor to share the stage with both of you. And I will say this, man. You guys are great. I want you guys to continue to be great. And look, happy 8/2/24 day. Shout out to Kobe and Gianna. Appreciate all the contributions that you've made to not only the sports world, but the impact that you've made on everybody around the world. So big shout out and big shout out to PSP. We appreciate you, man.
Thank you. Appreciate it, fellas. And y'all know where to follow me at. Like and subscribe to the YouTube channel as well as IG and TikTok, Sports PSP3. As Champ mentioned, over 8,000 subscribers. And we're going to continue to push and go forward and forward. And next week, we're going to have a great show, some preseason. Definitely going to have some NFL preseason. And we're going to discuss some college football. Because don't forget the college football season. If y'all think NFL football season is exciting, wait till college football season. Especially, man, and also to shout out to Mama PSP. Shout out to Mama PSP for helping me achieve my dreams, my goals, everything else. Love you, Mama PSP. And I also want to give a quick shout out to my professor from Montclair State University. She's like a second mom to me, Jennifer Lazarus. Does a great job with social media. She is like a mom to me, helped me maximize my potential, helped me learn how to use social media, helped me learn so much. Thank you for believing in me. Thank you for always making me feel like I was special. Thank you for always encouraging me, getting me to do things. And I just want to say, even though you're a college professor, I mean, you're like a mom to me. I just appreciate everything that you were there. I just appreciate everything you did for me. And this was during the time of the pandemic, because like a lot of us, we were stressed, really depressed, a lot of stuff going on. And I just want to say thank you for giving me the opportunity. And also, too, you helped me out that year, because that was my best year as far as academically during Montclair State University. So I want to say thank you, and just keep it going, man. And fellas, y'all enjoy the rest of y'all weekend. Take it, be safe, drink responsibly, drink some water because it's hot, caliente. And y'all enjoy the rest of y'all evening, and peace.